Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a very special edition of the BBOC podcast. It is March. It is conference tournament time. The Weave is here. Matthew Cox, Kai McKeon, Jim Root. We're going to go through some of the non-conference tourney games per usual to kick us off. Got some monster games actually Monday, Tuesday. Hit some of the remaining kind of fun mid-major games Monday, Tuesday, but then dive right into the three conference tournaments that kick off Tuesday. That is the Horizon, the Sun Belt, and the Patriot. We actually have an opening on Monday in the Horizon. Shouts to IU Indy and Cleveland State to wet our beaks. We have some hot takes on that one. But first, Kai Jim, let's talk about some powerful power conference games. Iowa State, Arizona, and Duke, NC State do battle on Monday. And then we have some SEC action on Tuesday. Alabama at Georgia. Nebraska goes out west to UCLA. I guess they stay out west, I should say, after the USC game. Then Kentucky at Texas. And let's start with the Monday two for gents. We'll get to some of the Big Sky action. I know some of you Big Sky fiends are looking for us to talk about all the implications with that tournament. There actually aren't very many, spoiler alert. But Iowa State, Arizona, we actually have lines out for these, Kai. Arizona minus 7.5 against the Clones, and Duke is laying 9 off of their demolition of Virginia over the weekend at Will Wade's house, I guess. Any interest in either one of these for you?
Gosh, I think Arizona's pretty unstoppable. That's what I took away from the Kansas game this past week. Also, Iowa State, pretty funny. They're named a 1 seed and then promptly lose 2 out of 3. Pretty sure they're off that line now. So I lean towards Arizona here, but heck, I really like the idea of Iowa State as a medium to big dog, a team that I think plays very, very well as an underdog with their defense. Obviously, Josh Jefferson, who's one of the best players in the country. I lean their way a little bit against Arizona. And then, Jim, this feels like a classic Will Wade game for me. A classic hype spot for him. He can't win normal games, but he can win huge games in the ACC. I think it's there. Duke is ripe to be picked off if you have the balls to fade Duke, who seems to be inevitable right now. I lean towards both the dogs in summary.
Let's start real quick.
Yeah,
Is NC State really like an 8 seed as I look at bracket matrix
Yeah,
right
they're
now?
around 8 to 10,
like a
somewhere around there.
9 seed.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
it's it's been ugly for them recently.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like, I've seen this sentiment on Twitter. Like, do we have to have this team in the tournament? Like, they aren't. They're so frustrating. Like, they get such puffy chests when they blow out mega shorthanded North Carolina.
Yeah, great.
I think you kind of see them ride the wave a little bit here. It's a very emotionally tied team. Like, the crowd can actually lift them. I think you'll see that. I think Duke wins, but I, I saw 10.5 at an early opener. I think it's smart that it's down to 9. I would take double digits probably with NC State. I'm with Kai. I think NC State does compete there. They've got a lot of the size, athleticism. They can switch a bunch. I think Boozer has a Mondo day. They're gonna have to double him because I don't think Lubin or Darian Williams can handle him inside. But there's enough shot making on that NC State team from Williams, from Paul McNeil. Copeland's a great table setter. I think there's enough there in the offensive department to you got to make shots over the top of Duke because they're so long and they keep you out of the lane. Their defense is the best in the country. But I buy the juice there for NC State. Definitely lean their way. Not an official bet for me. I'm thinking about locking in Arizona, though. Iowa State just has not impressed me. As Kai mentioned, since the reveal, real struggles. I thought they should beat shorthanded BYU. They did not. I thought they should beat, maybe even blow out shorthanded Texas Tech based on forcing turnovers. Well, they forced 15 and only committed 7 and still lost basically by double digits at home. And yes, Texas Tech made threes, but Texas Tech shot 71% inside the arc. Iowa State shot 43. Like, that's really bad. That's a massive gap. With no top end, that really can't happen against that Texas Tech team that's playing super small and trying to just outshoot you from deep. You can't get dominated at the rim. And that is what's going to happen against Arizona, who is maybe the best rim team in the entire country with Krivas, with Awaka. They got Koa Pete back, and he looked really good against Kansas. So, Maddie, I have a lean towards Arizona. I think where they're at, like third analytically, might even understate them. I think they're on the tier with Duke and Michigan, and Ken Pom has them like 2 points behind in efficiency margin. I'm not buying that. With Pete, I think they're like that true super elite team. So lean towards NC State and Arizona for me.
Yeah, I kind of the KU game convinced me I probably need to elevates Arizona in my hierarchy there. The Pete being back is such a game changer. Just like another kind of superhuman strength wing there that can just do everything. Super versatile. Tuesday, God, I don't have a lot here. The Nebraska UCLA game's intriguing. Like Nebraska looks, they look very mortal. They've got off to all these slow starts and then they kind of get into a groove second half, and they just certainly don't look like a top, a top flight team, but they play very well connected. Curious what Cronin tries to do in terms of their defensive scheme there. Kentucky A&M also kind of a fun matchup. And then the off to the races will go at Alabama at Georgia. That total is going to be 190. I mean, I
It's
don't.
183 at Ken Palm.
I think it's going to probably open 186, and people will probably be eager to bet that over. Kai, any take on total side in these three games? There's a few other on Tuesday we can get to, but those are kind of the three that stuck out to me. That's with the most intrigue.
Bama firing on all cylinders, man. 8 straight wins. I think they get it again as a short favorite against Georgia. Kim Palm's got it won. I mean, I'll take Alabama all day with that, especially over what a 70 plus possession game, 75 possession game. It's going to be up and down, as the total suggests. Nebraska, I lean their way. They have a shorter travel than UCLA, who's coming back from Minnesota. Nebraska just killed USC, and very impressive team this season. I think I lean their way as well. Kentucky, I'm glad A&M finally came back down to earth. They're 2-6 over the last 8 after starting 7-1 in the SEC. That's more who A&M is to me. I think the start was a bit of a facade. And it's hard to fall right now what Kentucky's doing. The game against Vanderbilt was never close. Chandler's been awesome. Been very impressed with them. So lean Kentucky, stronger lean to Nebraska against UCLA, strongest, and I will be taking Alabama for the podcast, Jim.
Okay, we're not quite head to head, but I'm going to take UCLA.
Ooh.
I know the travel is frustrating, and I'm sure Cronin will mention it, but the one-off trip to Minnesota, you take the loss, you come back home where they've been way, way better. They're 1-6 straight up outside of the Pacific time zone. Get them back home there against Nebraska. UCLA is coming off home wins against Illinois, against USC by 20. I know Nebraska's comfy cozy out there, but as Matt mentioned, their first half against USC was not good. It was a complete second half surge after Chad Baker Mazara got banged up and couldn't come back in the
Yeah,
game.
you couldn't play.
I think I'm a little bit skeptical of like the true peak version of the Huskers, and I've seen the connected portion of UCLA, like what they can look like when it's working with Dent, with the shooting from Clark and Perry, Bilodeau's versatile inside out game. I think what's his name? Nico Medved for Minnesota said Bilodeau's been like banged up. He's like, man, look at that guy. He's playing like a first team all conference guy despite, some nagging injuries. So I'm going to take UCLA as the home dog, even against the kind of odd travel spot for them. Actually lean to A&M a little bit. I think their press can bother Kentucky. I thought Vanderbilt would do the same. So grain of salt, folks out there, if you want. I think I took Vanderbilt on the weekend BBOC episode and got that thrown in my face. But sometimes you got to go back to the well. I like that pressure against Kentucky. Always been brilliant. Chandler's been awesome, like Kai said. He can't miss basically in SEC play. But lean to A&M, and then I'm with Kai on the last one. Alabama just kind of cruising. They got Filan back in that win at Tennessee, got the road revenge after losing at home to them. And Georgia's got Cyril in the paint, and that's kind of it. Like they're not going to really exploit that interior softness for Alabama. Jordan Ross missed last game for Georgia. I'm not a huge fan of his, but you'd like to have the full contingent in the backcourt when you're taking on Alabama's guard group. So yeah, lean towards Alabama, Texas A&M, and then I'm going to take UCLA +3, Matthew.
Yeah, it's funny looking at bracket matrix right now. It's UCLA and then 5 SEC teams that are clustered around the 10, 11 seed line. Georgia, A&M, Missouri, your Missouri Tigers, Texas, Auburn, and then my Indiana Hoosiers. Some people think oh my God, they're going to lose today. If you listen to this tomorrow, I bet they lose by
Down
20 to
10
Michigan
already,
State.
as we're
Yeah, down
recording.
10 live. We'll see how that ages. I have nothing. I want to get to some of these mid-major games, especially in the conference tournament. So let's move to the best of the rest. I have no action in either of those. I was just trying to run the splits on the LA, UCLA, USC, ATS when you're getting the crap spot in terms of travel when your opponent doesn't have to, but it's basically been like a coin flip this year. So it's not like any crazy edge there. I actually agree with McKeon. That's a tough spot. Saturday, Tuesday when Nebraska's been right there. All right, let's move on to the big bad sky. Kai, they did this last season too, where basically every team finishes up on Monday, and I think every team as playing 3 and 5 Thursday, Saturday, Monday. I need to double check that real quick, but just a, a scan of what the situation is for the conference tournament.
What's the
Idaho
name of
is
the conference
locked.
tournament, Matthew? What's the name of the conference tournament?
Potato, Idaho.
Starch Madness,
Starch
baby.
Madness. Did we
Nice.
know that Craven's doing the call again this year? I think
I believe he is. I
I hope
believe
he
he
has a
is.
lifetime contract. It makes that one of the better tournaments to watch. So Idaho is locked into the 7 seed. Everyone else has something to play for in theory, but the way this bracket's set up, you want to be in the top six. But there's no real advantage to being like 1-2 versus fourth or 3-6, and then 7-10. That's where you're kind of in a tough spot. Portland State has locked up a share with a already, but they went out. They went on Monday. They lock it up outright. Obviously, they're going to be motivated to play. Eastern Washington, a team I've been on basically every game for 3 or 2 months to start the year, can't lose, and all they do is cover and win by doubles every time they go out. There's a small chance they could actually sneak into that 1 seed, but they're probably sitting at the 2-3. Um, just my overall angle here. I don't know if you have any takes on any of these matchups, but I think you're in the Idaho or Sacramento State, Idaho State, Northern Arizona pod. All of those teams were kind of locked into that play-in spot. I don't know if they're going to fold, but they don't really have any real motivation, in my opinion. So I don't. I could see maybe some blowouts here. That's just my hunch. I don't know if you have an opinion on that or any other matchups, but fun Big Sky action to kind of lead us into next weekend when the tournament kicks off.
Yeah, I like Operation Fade Sac State still. I think that's a good
Fade Road, Sac State.
identity
Are they
that
at
you
home?
guys should. They're home against Idaho State, but
Okay, tread lightly.
I'm still leaning towards Idaho State in that game. I hope Portland State wins as a future holder on them. They've lost three
Th-
straight and kind of
This
made
would
this
be
one
an
close.
all-time choke job for
Would
them.
really be unfortunate because Montana State and Eastern Washington, man, are playing way better, and they have. I know Montana State's on the road, but I would still call that an easier game than Portland State hosting Weaver State. And then Ewash, yeah, eight straight wins is crazy. I lean their way to win again against Idaho. As you said, Vandals surprisingly in the 7 seed locked in. Nothing strong though in the Big Sky, Matt. No official place.
Eastern Washington is now 12-5 against the spread in league play, and that is because not only have they won 8 straight, they have covered 8 straight. It's
Yep.
absurd right now, the stretch that they're on. Yeah, Matthew, just looking at some of those dead spots, like I think I probably would fade Idaho when you've got Ewash playing for a title, potentially, at least a shred of a possibility of sharing it, and Idaho completely locked into their seed. And it's just also like I feel like statistically you should bet on the regression considering the shooting splits that Ewash has had over the stretch. Like they have the number one 3-point percentage offense and defense in the league, and it's even more extreme over that 8 game cover streak. But I kind of want to just ride the lightning with them, man. It's a hot team against a team with nothing to play for. Why not?
Yeah, I kind of like Weber, who is not playing 3 and 5. They actually had a whole week off, and they're playing the like clearly flatlining Portland State, who has no depth, and I think are just fine with like they have a claim of the title outright versus not outright. Maybe they can. I'm sure they care to a degree, but I kind of like Weber there. No official play, but I did give that a good close look. I think that team's very underrated now. They're getting a little bit healthier. Only loss in that span is to Eastern Washington, who we know is a juggernaut. So Tuesday, just worth mentioning, Miami, Ohio plays. They have 2 more games left to complete their regular season undefeated stretch. This one against Toledo. Very curious what this number opens up. I assume it'll be a very high scoring game filled with crazy, insane runs, as most Toledo games are. First game, Miami won pretty handily there. Nothing for me. Probably like a 9 point spread. Maybe tempted to back Toledo there as like a big dog Kai.
Yeah.
I don't know, but nothing official. I got to see what the price
Oh,
is there.
very tempted, especially if Scaljak is out for
Yes,
Miami.
exactly. Which
That's
he
that's
is. I think
the
that's confirmed, right? Yeah.
is he
No, he's
confirmed
he
out? Yeah.
after the radio after the game. Steele said on his radio show he'll be fine. He'll be fine for the next game, despite the reports that are already out there. But Kai, as we talked about at the bar yesterday,
What?
Hmm.
I'm woke to that. I'm thinking Steele is maybe playing
Yeah,
a little
the
possum with
tournament.
the committee,
Mm,
and I'm not fully sure that he's going to be
Yeah,
yeah,
fine.
I don't know.
I'll be on Toledo, Matthew. Tough 2 game stretch here, hosting Toledo and then at Ohio for Miami to finish it out. If they win 30 games, I think they should be in the tournament. I've seen just really stupid Twitter interactions, of course, because that's what Twitter is. discussing Miami was at large. People just don't understand how this works, including Bruce Pearl, apparently.
I have
Uh,
no idea. He sounded so clueless on the selection
he
thing.
just
Yeah.
has no idea. It's a shame.
And his Nepo son wants to make the tournament at 15 and 14. So
Exactly. Yeah. So, but I will be taking Toledo. I think the Western Michigan game, gosh, yet another game Miami should have lost, and they just found a way to win. Came back at the end there, but 7 points is probably what the spread will be. I'll be on the Rockets, Jim.
what do you guys think of the FanDuel prop right now? And maybe DraftKings has it too. But it's Miami to go undefeated in the regular season. Now the VIG is stupid on it. It's minus 210 yes, plus 154 no. You probably bet like if you want Miami to do it, I would just money line roll over the two games.
Wait,
But the no
what's the
side,
price?
minus 210 yes, they go undefeated. Plus 154 no. I'm sort of intrigued by the no. You get both games, but you could also just
Very intrigued by
bet
no.
both money lines on Toledo and Ohio there. Yeah, the Scaljack thing's huge. I'm going to be monitoring that right up till game time. I'm not at all convinced that he's going to be back because reminder, they've already lost Evan Ipsaro, their point guard starting coming into the year, and Scaljack had emerged into a stud. And then the third stringer, I can't even remember his name, made like a big play down the stretch of the
Is it
Miami
Kirby?
game.
No, Kirby's
I know
not
it's the
there.
freshman, Trey
No.
Perry. Trey Perry
Oh, he's
had like
actually good though. I like Perry.
yeah, started, played 30 minutes, had 14 points, 3 assists, 1 turnover. Like, okay, all right, we just manufacture point guards here at Miami of Ohio. I would, I'm scared of fading them because, like I said, they just continuously find a way to win. But I think taking the points is fair. I think Toledo can keep it close.
Jim, I'm going to look closer at that. I think fair should be like minus 150 for yes, minus 140. Just assume like an eight,
I I think so
seven,
too. That's why the
and
no side
7 point for the next two games. Yeah.
the no side's
Hmm.
interesting. I think they know people want to bet the yes because it's more
Right. Right.
fun.
Yeah, of course. All right. That's homework for me. Thank you, Jim. Let's move on to some spots. Section 3 here for, again, kind of focusing on Monday, Tuesday, the
Yeah,
final
you want
regular
me to take
season
the
finale. Yeah,
want me
let
to
me.
take
I
the
want
lead?
to.
Yeah.
There's one I really like that I want to kick off with because I want to actually talk about a best bet that I have as opposed to just giving context to games with no action. I love Drexel at Hofstra here. Um,
Yep.
the Dragons have been just kind of a thorn in everyone's side all year. Every season, it seems like Spiker kind of gets his team randomly playing good late. They have kind of rope-a-doped Garfield Turner, who has been injured all year, and now he's like healthy and he's an absolute force when he's at his best. And just look what he's been like the last two games against Hofstra's front line. That's the neutralizing piece. Low, low, low. It is impossible to blow out Drexel, it seems like. I think this game is like ugly, 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 60 to like 55. We'll see what that line opens at. It's plus 10 on, I think it's gonna be closer to like 8, frankly, but I think 8's a good value. I'd probably make that 5, 6 even. And I recognize I'm probably been too low on Hofstra this season, but and they've had some depth issues. But I like Drexel, Jim. Go ahead and run through your other spots, though.
Well, I just will mention in addition to that, because I'm going to be on Drexel as well, down to like 7. Hofstra's fully clinched into the 3, 100%. Can't move up, can't move down. So like that probably changes their incentive system there. And they've been a little banged up this year. They're not quite like Delaware. Sometimes I confuse those two. But they've been a little banged up, and I think they'll kind of just foot off the gas pedal, especially against a hyper physical team like Drexel that has something to play for between the 4 and the 5 and could fall all the way to the 6 seed in a disaster scenario for them. So with you on that one, Matthew, great call out. There's a couple teams that are awful lost that I think otherwise would be in tough spots. Like Tennessee, had they been able to pull it out against Bama, would be all-time sandwich spot between that, between Vandy on the weekend. Now they're -9 going to Columbia, South Carolina. I still lean towards the Gamecocks there. I think you struggle to get like the absolute home run version of Tennessee, but off a loss, it's a little bit hurtful on the spot. BYU's -1 at Cincinnati. It's their second straight road game out east. They just lost at West Virginia. They're hosting Texas Tech on Saturday, the battle of the ACL shortcomings in the Big 12. I kind of like Cincy there, though. I think BYU's fading a little bit since he's got that defense. They've got not like perfect guys to throw it to Bonsa, but maybe Baba Miller gives him some trouble. Maybe Sincere Harris gets under him a little bit. So lean towards Cincy there. And a couple others I'll go through real fast. UCF's off a bad home loss to Baylor, -7 at home versus Oklahoma State in a very high total game. I think you could maybe take a look at the Knights there. One I will be betting is TCU +12 at Texas Tech. Kai, I hate going back to this freaking well of fading Texas Tech without Toppin because they just are going to shoot 45% from three in every game, it
Mhm.
appears. But TCU is such a feisty underdog. It's a tough follow up to winning at Hilton Magic. So I'll take the Horned Frogs there, plus 12. Louisville and Illinois are both off losses and now get inferior teams. Louisville's much better against inferior competition, minus 15 versus Syracuse. I think that's a decent look. Illinois, minus 19 against Oregon. Illinois has an extra day of rest. This line will probably be shorter because Oregon's playing much better with Biddle back in the lineup, but longer travel for Oregon there. And then, as Matt mentioned, Drexel. And of course, I'm going to be fading Air Force again. I know it didn't work over the weekend, and it was so bad that like Wyoming only beat them by I think two. And Sundance Wicks had like a whole rant in the presser about like we can criticize guys that get paid to play. I was so mad at my players like because they won by not enough against Air Force. That's how bad Air Force is. And you get Grand Canyon off a loss, an actual good team, minus 18 on the road in Colorado Springs. I think I'm still going to go with Grand Canyon there. So that's my rundown of spots. Kyle, I'll go to you. Any of those jump out? There's a whole bunch of them.
Air
I'm
Force
joining.
actually took the lead there. They were down 10 and came back and took the lead, and then they lost. Man, I gotta think Air Force is like, we can't win that one. What
Yeah.
what chance do we have?
Probably be on
Yeah.
Fade Air Force next couple. Not official for the pod though. I'm going Drexel. I do love the Drexel spot there. Matthew, great call. Game one was sub 60 possessions, 3-point game. Hofstra got up, but then Drexel, as they do, best defense in the league, came back and mucked it up. And I like Jim's TCU take. Horned Frogs been playing great lately. In my opinion, they've played themselves into the right side of the bubble currently into the playing game, right around there. Winners of 6 of 7. And Texas Tech, man, I just don't believe they're better without JT Toppin. I can't believe they are. They're 3-0 straight up against the spread. Hasn't really been a sweat yet. I think TCU at least can keep it close, even though it's on the road. Matthew.
Yeah, Luke Bamgoy, the Englishman. How do you say his last name? Bamgoy?
Bamgoy.
Yeah,
Ignore the second B
there's
in the
no
final E.
okay.
Just Bamgoy.
Bamgoy, awesome offensively lately. Can't believe he's been like just a good role guy, not like a featured post guy, but allowing the guards to flourish.